look, I'm not going to start the video like I usually do with Kylie Minogue, doing the whole spiel about her longevity, her impact on pop music, her brilliance in pop music, and the fact that she still kept going 16 albums later, putting out good music all these years down the line. I keep talking about it. I've done it so many times in Kylie videos this year alone. So instead, you should just watch those other videos, especially the top 10 Kylie Minogue songs video that you should go and watch, because that's a great video, and you should watch me rank all of her songs from all eras in a nice top 10 neat list in, you know, my opinion of her 10 best songs ever. So yeah, just go watch that one, why don't you? She's seen an unusual amount of success for this album cycle for this later part of her career, given the fact that she hasn't really had many massive hits for the past 10 or so years. But Padam Padam came and swept the nation in such a what felt like a natural growth way. Like, it really seemed like it just bit by bit, the building blocks kind of stacked up on top of one another, to where people were just slowly getting on board with it and hearing it, and just, you know, developing this really, really cult-like following for it. It was pretty cool to see, because of course, like I say, her last however many albums haven't produced hits really, but this one was quite easily her biggest hit in some time, and easy to see why. It's a good tune, it's a good track, it's quite addictive in a weird, alluring, sort of unusual way. The chorus just has this way of kind of pulling you in without you really wanting to, but by the end of it, you're just sucked into the Padam. In terms of like the obsession people have had for this song and how obsessive people have been about this song, I don't get that. I don't see it on that level, I'm not going to lie to you, but I think it's a good song. And, you know, for popular music in 2023, I mean, you're going to see it on my top 10 pop songs of the year list that I'm going to do in December, so spoiler for you there. But in terms of the biggest songs of the year, it's easily one of the better ones that we've seen in terms of that, you know, big chart songs. Then we got Tension, which is totally on the opposite end of the spectrum. Well, at least it doesn't seem that way at the beginning. But then by the time you get to the chorus, it's the most jarring and strange transition that I still not sure really works. But the fact that she took the risk and was bold enough to release this as a single, I still admire. Like, it really doesn't sound like it's trying to be anything else out there other than the fact that it's just this weird oddball of a dance pop song from the 90s with just one of the oddest transitions I've heard in some time, all genres of music. Not one that I'm really going back to, but one that I do find so ridiculous and entertaining when it's on. I can't help but laugh every time that chorus, "Oh my god, touch me right there," comes on, because that is just some weird stuff, man. But yeah, I like the fact that she clearly set the tone for this album with these two songs. You're not gonna like what I'm about to follow this up with, but I like that it seemed quite obvious that we were getting more of a club, housey sort of dance 90s feel for this album, because I've always felt that she could do this really well for a whole album. She's touched on it here and there, bits and bobs, with some of her 90s work, particularly like the self-titled album, or maybe even some tracks, you know, in the 2000s that had that kind of vibe to them. So I was like ready for the whole album to follow this trend, and for it to be quite clearly marketed in this way. It was like, this is obviously going to be like this from start to end. But the part you're not going to like is where I say, man, what a letdown. Like, none of the album really lives up to what these singles showed us. It's just a really safe sounding pop album that has some dance elements occasionally and some kind of, you know, heavier kick drums to bolster up the beats on some of the songs. And that's kind of it. Nothing on this album really resembles anything like Padam Padam or Tension. There isn't really that urgency, that you know, straight up banger feel to any of the other tracks. They're more like understated. They're more just kind of, you know, staying in that safe lane of just standard pop songs that you might hear on like Capital FM or something. Like, nothing on the album really lives up to any of that. And I just find it really odd. I don't know why you'd market something in a way that seems like it's going to be one thing for it to end up being, you know, not really like that. And at first I was like, okay, right, expectations have hindered this listen. Because my first listen, I was like, okay, this isn't what I was expecting. But that doesn't mean to say that I don't like it. Like, let's give it more time, let's give it more listens, because now I know what I'm expecting for the whole album. I'll be like, oh yeah, fair enough, I can get on board with that. But yeah, it just never really stuck out to me. There's some nice moments, but yeah, for the most part, I'm just kind of underwhelmed by this. Now, it's not that unlikely for Kylie to drop a bit of a meh album. I mean, she's got 16, they're not all great, they just can't be on that level. There's quite a few duds occasionally, you know, here and there that she drops that just isn't on the level of her usual brilliance. And I just think this album might be that one, but it's just the fact that it seemed to be something different leading up to it. But then we just kind of get tracks like Things We Do for Love, which is just so standard and typical, just feels like a really ordinary sort of dance vibey beat that I think I've heard a million times. Again, I'll keep saying this, but on like radio stations or any kind of charting pop song that's going for that kind of vibe sounds like this at the moment. But it doesn't really have, again, that standout quality that you'd maybe expect Kylie to bring, that X factor that makes the songs just have that extra bit of charisma, extra bit of pizzazz. And they just kind of don't really have that. Green Light, which by the end I get sick of because that chorus or the refrain just gets repeated and hammered in over and over again to the point where it actually ends up being like not that catchy. Like this track, it just isn't that catchy at all. Like I feel like it thinks it's catchy, but by the time you get to the end of it, you're just so fed up of hearing her say that line like over and over again. It's just like, this actually isn't even catchy. It doesn't stick in my head, which... She's really good at doing that. She's so hooky. I mean, goddamn. You know, Disco was only 3 years ago. Listen to any track from that album. They are so catchy. Like, so catchy. Every track is ingrained in your brain. Even to the point, like, you know, my review initially, it has grown on me since that review. So some of those tracks have just really, like, been, you know, properly frozen into my mind because of how catchy they are. But I just don't really find Green Light on that level at all. And then there's like the repetitive aspects of like the lyrics on the tracks. Look, coming to a Kylie album for some like, you know, deep underlying meaning is silly, but she can do better than a lot of these tracks. I mean, freaking You Still Get Me High and then Vegas High, which basically have like the same ideas of getting high on the feelings and all that kind of stuff. Like two songs about the same thing. I mean, she does have a tendency to do that on albums where there's similar songs about similar things. It's usually love. Like the concept of love is just like hammered in on every track. But this, when the songs aren't very memorable or very sticky, it really stands out. So you've got like, you know, You Still Get Me High, which literally sounds like an Argos advert. Like if this pops up in an Argos advert at some point, you heard it here first, because that ooh thing that she does on the chorus, like it sounds like Fits in the Tantrums or some like indie stuff from like the early 2010s. 10 out of 10. Oh god, this track I was hoping didn't even make it onto the album because it didn't even have her name as the main artist on Apple Music. It's Oliver Heldens that's the main artist. So I thought, oh, okay, this is just a one-off track that's not touching the album. But God, I was wrong. It's there to annoy me. And yeah, it just really sounds like so baity. Like she's clearly baiting like people into this kind of like, you know, 10 out of 10 face, face. It really sounds like it's made for like RuPaul's Drag Race. I just think she's baiting that kind of audience into this song. I wouldn't mind, but the transition into the chorus is just so messy. It's like a totally different song. His voice is terrible. This honestly sounds like a Confidence Man knockoff. Like, I can't get over how bad this song is. She hasn't put out anything on this level of bad for so long. I can't believe she's dropped it onto this album, man. Oh, in fact, you know, when I say so long, I don't even have a song that comes to mind that would be on the level of like this bad. I just think it's terrible. Straight up bad. Hold On To Now, I will say some positives before you think I'm just shitting on the album, because I'm not. I'm just, you know, disappointed with it, if anything. You know, Hold On To Now, really starry, really glistening, was quite liking this track. I think once you get to the second chorus with the kind of like The way the track builds sounds really good. I was impressed with that. I was definitely happy with how the track just kind of kept my attention and never really got annoying or never really got stale. Never felt like I've heard this a million times before. Although it is a pretty standard song, it didn't feel on that level for me. It was nice enough. But yeah, that's kind of it. It's kind of it. Like, I don't really have much else to say. I do still like Padam Padam. I appreciate Tension for how risky it is. But God, not even getting close to those levels of edginess or risk in the ways that she did with the singles is so disappointing. Like, you just can't help but feel like, God, this album could have been so much more. And I've seen a lot of disappointment about this album, actually. I don't feel alone on this. Although Kylie, you know, I guess her hardcore fans will probably be loving this. But I count myself in that category. I've loved so much of her music over the years, so this is not just me hating on this for the sake of it. Like, I'm a big fan. I've seen her live, I've listened to her a lot, I've got a lot of scrobbles on my Last FM for her. You know, she's an artist I view highly. This just ain't all that. And yeah, I know you're gonna hit me with, you just hate fun, this ain't supposed to be anything else. It's just, I can't have fun to 10 out of 10. I just can't, okay? And I think Kylie across her career has been really fun, but for me, I just think this album falls short. I think it's a ball drop, actually. I think the amount of potential this album had was so high. And thinking of like the artists she could have collaborated with on the production credits, like, you know, thinking of like imagine Fred again and Kylie Minogue on a track together, how good that would sound. Like, why didn't she shoot for those types of producers, those modern, on the cusp, releasing really great like house music at the moment? I'm thinking, I mean, he's not that well known, but Tourist. I mean, imagine Tourist on a Kylie Minogue album. God, that would be so good. Barry Can't Swim. I mean, again, these aren't massive names. Fred again is a huge name, so there's no excuse for that one. You could definitely get Fred again on a Kylie song, but anyone else that just has a better eye or ear for house beats and dance beats, not these really safe, stiff sounding ones that don't really have much oomph to them. Because, yeah, I don't know, I just feel like the rest of the album didn't live up to what this should have been. So yes, I can have fun and I love Kylie, but 5.5 out of 10, I'm afraid. Thank you for watching as always. Hopefully you've got something out of this video, a different perspective maybe, or you might even just be agreeing with me on this one. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like I say, check out my top 10 video on Kylie Minogue, her best songs ever. There's a variety of all her eras that pop up on that list, so I'm sure you'll enjoy that video. And please subscribe if you haven't already. Check out more videos too. More importantly, like the video. Tell me your thoughts in the comments. Tell me how wrong I am and how much I hate music. Have a good day. Goodbye.